Oh, I have to really get in here. Man,
Yeah.
I'll lean over with you.
Hey, you got 3 people. All right, so we're at the Boinks. We're going to start this at 2 o'clock, so we got a minute or so yet. We have no idea what we're doing. First time Periscopers. We get to see who's in the room. 3 live viewers.
I guess so.
See if the tweet went out.
It did.
Oh, yeah, there we are. All right. Hey, someone's in the room. Okay, so we're the Boinks. We're a traveling family. We've got, I'm Mike.
I'm Krista.
It's Krista. We've got 2 kids. We've got a 18-year-old son and a 17-year-old daughter. And we have been traveling via RV full-time for 5 years in a couple weeks. So we just we thought we'd jump on Periscope and just we'll talk about that a bit. And if you've got questions, feel free to shoot them and we'll answer them as we go. So we left just about 5 years ago from Holland, Michigan. We were a pretty average suburban family. I had a business at home and worked out of the house, and we've always homeschooled our kids. Krista was their main homeschool coordinator, teacher. And at some point it occurred to us that our lifestyle was entirely mobile. The only thing really keeping us in West Michigan was our house and connections to church and so forth. You're squinting.
Sorry.
You look happy. It's a happy lifestyle. And so it was an idea we kicked around for several years. I had grown up traveling by RV, vacations, not living, but vacations. Greece, wow. And Chris had camped in a pop-up camper, so we kind of knew the campground culture, the RV culture a bit. And so we would joke about it back and forth to say, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we just, jumped in an RV and traveled around the country for a year, kind of as a way to homeschool kids and just have a great family experience. And a couple things happened. One is within 1 week, probably late 2009, we had several conversations in kind of a business context where this idea came up of, we were jokingly thinking about traveling full-time by RV. And the feedback we got from people was, well, why don't you? And we realized that while we had kind of kicked it around, we had never really looked seriously into the idea of traveling full-time. So we decided to do that. Kind of while all that was happening, my son, who was 12, turned 13. And as a parent, when you suddenly have a teenager, good, we're having a good day here too. You have a teenager in the house now, and the kid was just 2 yesterday, and you realize, gosh, most of our time together as a family is already up, and it's ticking down quickly. So we decided to look into the notion of traveling, doing this kind of family adventure more seriously, and we looked for reasons to not do it rather than reasons to do it. We were just looking for, is there anything that would really keep us from making the jump out of our house, buying an RV, and hitting the road full time? And we didn't find that thing. Like we ran the numbers and decided that we could afford to buy an RV and also keep our house. That was the big question. Do we have to sell the house to do this, or can we keep the house? So we figured that we could keep the house. Well, good. If you have any questions, Angie, just shout them out. Financially, we could keep the house, and actually, a lot of people choose to rent their houses while they're gone, so they have a source of income while they're on the road, and that works really well for a lot of people. For us, we would have had to remortgage our house, and that meant a whole bunch of paperwork and a whole bunch of talking with bankers, and we only thought we were going to do this for a year, so it sounded like a lot of hassle for a 1-year trip. So instead, we asked ourselves, is there a way to do this cool thing as a family, but also kind of bless somebody else? So we found a friend of Chris's who was, she's in her early 50s?
Early 50s, had never lived by herself. She either lived with kids or her kids lived with her even as adults. And so we thought she should have a year to live by herself and experience what that was.
So we put her in the house rent free, and with the agreement that she would handle our mail, because that's a big puzzle for a lot of people. Like, I want to travel full time. What do I do with my mail? So we just left our mail going to our standard address, no changes there. And she would just get on a phone call or email Krista once a week or so and say, hey, here's the mail you got. Do you want me to open it? This looks important, kind of thing. So they were able to work that out between themselves. So that was what we did with our house. From a living perspective, I mean, the trailer's behind us. I say RV, and a lot of people think motorhome. RV is kind of an umbrella term for anything that has cooking, sleeping, and eating and bathroom in it. So we pull a trailer behind a truck. There are families that also live in motorhomes. It's kind of a variety of modes on the road out there. So that was 2010, September 2010 we launched from West Michigan. And we did what everybody does, everybody that we've talked to who does this the first year, and that's they go really fast. So our first year we were in 32 states. And what that meant was that we moved every 3 to 4 days on average. And that's cooking. That's a lot of work. Because with the trailer, on a given travel day, by the time you get up, eat breakfast, get everybody dressed and fed, get the trailer disconnected from everything, get it hooked to the truck, get on the road, stop for gas, stop for bathroom breaks, get to your next destination, and set up the trailer again, that's a solid 8-hour day at least there. And that's really usually only with like 4 hours of travel time. So to do that every 3-4 days on average is a lot of work. But we initially were on this 1-year plan, so our thought was that we really just need to see as much as we can, because we made all this effort and spent all this money to get mobile, so we have to be moving all the time. Partway through that first year, we decided, hey, this is really fun, and there's no one making us stop, so why are we going to stop? And kind of just sat down as a family and talked about it, and ultimately decided to go back home, sell our house, sell just about everything else we owned, put a little bit of stuff in storage, and then hit the road full time. So we did that, what was it, 2011?
2012.
2012.
No, yes.
So we're back home in our house for about 6 months. It sold in 2 days, which we took as just a sign that, yes, this is what we're supposed to be doing. So 2 days on the market. And then we were kind of in a rush. We had to literally purge through a lot of stuff.
The buyer gave us 6 weeks, which was nice because we had a lot of stuff to get rid of.
Yeah. So the whole purging process, and we learned a lot during that process. You learn a lot about your relationship to your stuff. You learn how it kind of owns you, a lot of it, how it defines you. I was into Jeeps for many years. I thought of myself as a Jeep guy. I was a moderator on a Jeep forum. And it just, having that Jeep really defined me as a person. And I was in the middle of telling our kids, hey, you're going to have to get rid of a lot of your toys and really downsize for this trip, when I realized I couldn't ask them to do that if I didn't do it myself. So ultimately I had to sell the Jeep, and it was, I could go on for an hour about what it was and how much work I'd done to it. But it was a classic 60s era Jeep that I had spent hours and hours and hours working on, and sold it and sold all the spare parts and all the tools that went with it. And just ultimately went through that process of redefining yourself as a person. Okay, so who am I without a Jeep now? And that's a good process. It's a growing process, because you sort of take away all these things that define you, and it gives you the chance to reinvent yourself and figure out who you are now. So that process we purged, and there's a bunch of blog posts out there about how to do that. Ultimately, you're either trying to sell it or give it away through any avenue you can. We tried a bunch of stuff on Craigslist, and that was a pain. We ended up giving most of it away, and found some people through our church that we could just really bless by the things that we had, which honestly weren't that great. We had 1 or 2 pieces of nice furniture. Otherwise, everything was hand-me-downs or secondhand stuff. It wasn't super high-end anything. We just weren't in that mode. But never felt richer in our lives, honestly. The whole process of being able to just give somebody a bed, give somebody a kitchen table, and say, there you go, God be with you, and just enjoy it. It's just awesome. Totally love being able to do that. Getting back on the road, was weird. The first couple of moves after doing that purging, this thought of going down the road, I'm driving my truck and everything I own is hooked up behind me in that trailer, is freeing and terrifying at the same time. If somebody knocks me off the road and this thing flips over a couple of times, what do we got left? But, you have to just sort of, put yourself in God's hands at that point, that whatever happens there is for the best. But freeing in the same regard, in that we can just go live anywhere now. We want to be where it's warm. We want to be where it's scenic. We can do that as well. So between the first year and now, so it's another 4 years of full-time travel, we've only added 7 more states. So we've been to a total of 39. Most of our empty states are the northeastern ones, so New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine. All those where the season is kind of short because of the weather, and they're kind of far away. Other than that, the 2, I think, west of the Mississippi are Arkansas and Nebraska, and we'll probably pick up one of those this fall. The trip, our lifestyle kind of morphed. Initially the first year or two was about what can we go see and what destinations do we want to go see, national parks. There were things like swimming with manatees and just kind of experience sort of things that sort of guided our travels. Since then, it's become more about people. We've met other traveling families. There's actually quite a few of them out there. We've got our current list of blogs is about 200 that just travel by RV. Then there's boat people and just other full-time traveling people as well. So we met some of those folks. We caravanned with another family for about 9 weeks total in some different areas, and that was really cool. We had a little mobile neighborhood, and just you'd be in a new spot, and you'd open your door, and you had the same people next door, and then kids would have their same friends, and that was really cool. So for us as parents, I know people worry about being lonely on the road, and certainly there are times when you are by yourself as a family out there, but we have more friends now and better friendships now than when we had a suburban house. So if you're considering this lifestyle and worried about the community aspect of it, don't be. There are other travelers out there that you can connect with. The big thing is you have to purpose to do it. And we do that by following we follow a number of blogs. That's actually why we started collecting other family traveling blogs to begin with, was just to see where they were, both to see what they were doing. Does that look like something that we want to do, and where are they? And if their blog posts looked like it was kind of in the same region, I would reach out via email and say, hey, are you guys still there? Which way are you moving? Can we connect up and meet? And that's how we met the other family that we caravanned with. It was through our blog. There's actually a group called Fulltime Families that is actually having a rally this weekend. So it's all traveling families or people that want to explore the lifestyle. Are they in Missouri?
Yeah,
I forget.
So. I think so.
So there are clubs and groups out there too that kind of facilitate meeting up.
And I'm going to just, not meaning to pimp our stuff, because that's not what this point is, but we have a whole list of people who are traveling with their families, and we run a blog, or we run an online daily newspaper called topfamilytravelblogs.com. And anybody who, we have, Mike said, 200 RVers. We've also got some sailing families who are sailing and others who are traveling around the globe. But we curate their blogs every day. So I go in, and if there's new blog posts from these people, they'll show up on that newsletter. So if you're interested in seeing where people are or what people are doing or that type of thing, topfamilytravelblogs.com. And just check it out and see if it's something you want to keep checking in.
And that came about because we were following those blogs anyway, so we just figured a way to kind of flip that around and make that a public service for other people who were looking for the same thing. Because it can take you, I spent hours the first year. I'm the research guy. So before we started traveling, I just spent hours scouring the internet looking for other blogs to follow, just to see who was doing this and how hard. And, oh, good, you found it. So yeah, you can either just look at that every day, or you can subscribe to a daily email and get the latest blog posts from that. So it's just an easy way to keep up with all the traveling families out there. Community otherwise, like in the wintertime, it's actually easier. The weather drives us all south. These RVs are not well insulated, so You don't want to be where it's below freezing for any great length of time. So in the wintertime, everybody goes south, and you're usually more likely to bump into other families during that time. And there's some hot spots, like Orlando, Florida is a popular one for traveling families. So we have just lucked into meeting other families while we're traveling as well. Less so during the summer, more so during the winter. What else? Costs. Costs are always a big concern. So we ran our budget, our expenses for last year, 2014. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the number? I'm blanking now. Was it like $2,300 a month?
I think so.
Yeah.
And that's with going swimming with manatees.
Yeah, so it's the fun stuff in addition to the campground costs and the moving costs. The interesting thing about living in an RV is your main expenses are campgrounds and fuel. We joke that we traded our mortgage for a fuel bill. So the nice thing with that is if gas goes up and gets to be $4 a gallon, you can just slow down and stop moving so much. And you can control your costs that way. Right now, gas is cheap, and we're itching to get moving again because we can travel. I mean, gas under $2 is unheard of. I just want to drive full time right now. Campgrounds, generally, the longer you reserve or stay for, the cheaper it gets. So you can buy by the week or you can buy by the month. The spot that we're sitting in is actually a seasonal spot, so we've been here since April. We are really wanting to hit the road at this point. We've got Hitch Itch, it's called. We want to get going. But the advantage of buying the seasonal spot, our rent was $375 a month, and that includes water, sewer, electric, trash, a bathhouse to use, not Wi-Fi. We paid for cable internet, so that's an additional cost. And there's a little patch of grass we have to mow, but they give us the mower and the gas to do that, so we just have to do the labor of that. So really the only additional costs we have while we're here are cable and laundry, because there's no laundry facilities in the park.
We always do laundry, so.
Yeah. What else? Feel free to shout out a question. Internet, that's always a big question. So we have, right now we've got cable internet because we were here long enough that it makes sense. So it's really fast, and we've been gorging on data and streaming movies and all that stuff we don't normally get to do. Otherwise, when we're more on the move, we have an air card MiFi set up basically through Verizon. We have 20 gigs a month for about $100 a month. That's 20 gig we can do. I do web development, so that has to cover my work. If we're really careful with our video usage, and none of us are big online gamers, we can make it usually under 20 gig a month, but there have been some months where we bump over that by a couple gig. But generally, about $100 a month for internet. Campgrounds mostly advertise Wi-Fi, but it rarely works. I think most of them bought some kind of a network system probably 10 years ago and haven't updated it much since. So if you can get on the network, typically it's too slow to use, and a lot of times you just can't even get on the network. So we never depend on campground Wi-Fi. It's an added bonus. If it works, we'll use it. If it's really good, we may stream a movie or something, but otherwise we just don't depend on it. So it's cost, that's internet, that's community. Mail is another question a lot of people have. How do you handle your mail? We don't have that person living in our house again now. So we don't have a house. There are mail services, so we subscribe to one that's based out of Michigan where we're still residents of. All of our mail goes to basically a P.O. box at their address. They receive our mail, they scan it, they send us a PDF or a picture of the mail via email. And then we say either open it and scan the contents or just trash it or forward it on to us and here's where we're at currently. And then they'll ship it kind of in an overnight shipper deal. So it's a service. You pay the bill, so you know how much it costs.
Well, it's the service itself. We don't get a lot of mail, so it's about $16 a month for that service. I get X number of pieces of mail coming in for that price, X number of them scanned. When I have any mail forwarded to us, then for each piece that's sent, it's 75 cents for them handling it, and then whatever the priority mail envelope costs. So it's probably another $5, a little over $5 for that envelope. But
All right.
We don't have it shipped to us a whole lot.
So we've been going about 20 minutes. I don't want to make this too long. I think we might do these once in a while to answer more questions if there are any. It's kind of a first-time experiment for us to try Periscope and see if it was something worth using. So unless someone's got a question to shout out, we're going to wrap up here and probably kind of do this sort of thing once a week or so. I feel like the auctioneer, going once, going twice. All right, no questions. Feel free to catch us. ditchingsuburbia.com is our main blog. You can always email us a question via the website. We'll gladly answer it there. Cool, thanks. We have a Facebook group, also Ditching Suburbia there as well. And the cool thing about that group is it's a mix of RVers, full-time sailing people, bus conversion people. So we're trying to kind of make a mix of all those different nomadic communities, because we're all very similar people. We've just chosen different ways to kind of get out of the suburbs and live a more adventurous life. So that's kind of our hope with Ditching Suburbia, is to draw those groups together and get them talking to each other. So catch us online or catch us here next time. Thanks a lot.